Hi, I'm Caitlin Gilbride, and these are the 5 habits that made me smarter. The first habit is reading daily. I used to think reading made you smart by default, but it doesn't. I mean, a lot of people read on, reels, they skim read books, they skim read articles, they just read headlines, and they're not actively reading. Because scrolling isn't reading, skimming isn't reading, and passively just buying books and letting them sit on your shelf isn't reading. And I think it's really important to also select what you're reading, so you're not just picking whatever random book, you're really intentional with what you're reading because your time is your most valuable asset. So now when I read, I underline ideas, I pause and I let myself think with the knowledge I just learned. And I summarize these concepts in my own words, and most importantly, I apply these concepts. Because a lot of people will just read books and they never actually apply any of the information they learned from the book. And that is like the most important thing that you're getting out of the book. Because your brain doesn't change when it just consumes information. It changes when it processes information and applies it. Studies show that reading literature and nonfiction books actually increase the amount of white matter in your brain, especially in regions linked to language and comprehension. But this only happens if you're actually engaged with the material, not just passively consuming it. So instead of asking yourself, oh, how many books did I read? How many pages did I read? Ask yourself, what did I actually learn from this book and what did I apply today from this book? And that will change everything and how you approach reading and learning. So that was the first habit that definitely made me smarter and more intelligent and more aware of what I was consuming. My second habit was switching from consuming short form content to long form content. Some of you might know what short-term content is, but I'm basically talking about reels, TikToks, anything that is like 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And rather, I replace that with podcasts, lectures, long-form YouTube videos, interviews, full conversations, something where you could actually get the full concept of what we're talking about, because realistically, you can't learn a concept in 30 seconds. And most people are training their brains to think in 7 seconds, but that's not how we're wired neurologically, because intelligence requires sustained attention. And when you listen to a 60-minute podcast or YouTube, you're actually reinforcing your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain in the front. And this part of your brain is responsible for critical thinking, decision-making, complex thoughts. And when you're watching long-form content, it's basically like cognitive endurance training for your mind. Because your brain wasn't meant to live in fragments of ideas and concepts. Because 20 seconds isn't enough time to fully grasp a concept. And you need time to let these ideas sit. You need boredom. Because realistically, you need time to process things. You're not going to automatically learn something in 30 seconds. That's pretty much impossible. And when I let myself sit with these ideas, that's when I really started to fully understand. And my thinking really deepened. Habit number 3, teaching what I learned. The third habit, and perhaps the most important one, was teaching what I taught myself. Because when you can teach someone what you learned, that's when you really start to master the concept. Because you can teach someone the concept. And when I started explaining neuroscience and psychology online, I quickly became really good at understanding those concepts because I had to turn these really complex topics into easy to understand information. And when you're teaching this stuff, you'll quickly see the gaps in your learning of what you don't understand, because people will call you out on it. People will literally be like, but why is this work? Or that's not true, or you forgot to mention this. And this really fills the gaps in your learning when you teach it someone. Because teaching activates something called the protease effect. When you teach someone something, it encodes it in your mind differently than it would have normal information. You basically organize it, simplify it, and then connect it in your mind. And this process strengthens the memory connection between your neurons. It improves your memory and your retrieval patterns. So if you want to understand something deeply, explain to someone else the concept without looking at it. Because this will teach you to think clearly. And clarity is intelligence. Quick tea break. Habit 4 is journaling and structured thinking. And I'm not talking about gratitude journaling. I'm talking about literally thinking on paper and writing down your thoughts. I ask myself, what did I learn today? What went well? What didn't go well? How can I change this? How can I improve? And I reflect on not only my day, but my learnings. What assumptions was I wrong about? What identities and behaviors are my brain forming? This builds metacognition, your ability to think about thinking. And that is one of the strongest predictions of intelligence. Because most people react to life, but very few reflect on life. And writing forces reflection, and reflection rewires your brain. Habit 5 is boring discipline. So this habit is the least aesthetic, but dare I say, the most effective. This is sleeping 7 to 9 hours. This is exercising daily. This is getting 8 hours of sleep, taking care of your body, limiting mindless scrolling, and studying and filming content even when I don't want to. For example, exercise is so important because it increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a chemical that literally supports neuroplasticity. It helps your brain grow, learn new connections, and get smarter. Sleep consolidates memory. Consistency strengthens neural pathways. And there's nothing glamorous about any of this. This is all boring things that no one wants to do. But here's the thing, intelligence isn't built on bursts of motivation. It is built through consistency. It is built in repetition. So becoming smarter wasn't about chasing productivity. It was about changing how I use my brain every day. Some of these things were reading more actively, taking care of my health, listening longer, teaching others, thinking intentionally, living intentionally, being consistent, showing up every day. And intelligence isn't a personality trait. And unlike people think, it's not something that you're fixed with. It is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle of being curious. It's a lifestyle of wanting to learn every day. And if you want to go deeper into the science of habits, cognition, neuroscience, how your dopamine pathways work, why you have anxiety, how to use psychology to make more friends, the neuroscience of happiness, I will be going into all these topics on my monthly membership called the Neuro Society that will be dropping in a few days. So if you want to learn more, you want longer lecture style videos, it's all going to be there. But for now, I want you to start with one habit. One habit that you're consistent with, that you put in the time. Doesn't have to be huge bursts of energy. It can be small, consistent efforts every single day. Because it all starts with one action. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.